We managed to get our hands on a whole Iberico pig, often called the Wagyu of the Pork world, and it normally never leaves Spain. So we brought in Ruadhán, an expert butcher, to break it down, and then we're cooking and eating every part of the animal. Ruadhán, feel sorry for you. It's a big boy. It's over to you.
Okay, so whole Iberico pig, you're looking at, normally when they butcher these pigs, they butcher them completely straight after slaughter while it's still warm. So this could be even more difficult than normal because the fat will have hardened so much. So I'll take the head off first.
Yeah, let's do it. So people call this the sort of Wagyu of the pig world, yes, because of the amount of fat that's inside it.
It's the fat content, which comes from the breed, it comes from the nature of how the animal's raised.
So pata negra, for anyone who's watching, means Blackfoot, right?
Yes.
So if you notice that these have got black soles of their feet, and it's incredibly fatty. So, geez, look at the fat in there. That is absolutely crazy.
Give you an idea. Now, normally with an English pig, I would take that off the joint, but I'll be honest with you, it's just gonna be hard. So I'm kind of making it a little bit easier on myself. So you're looking at where I've cut through the neck there, and you can see the bottom of the jowls going round. And
that is gonna be, I mean, normal pigs, I mean, almost the heads are what, like at least a third smaller than that, the ones that we get in the UK?
Yeah, definitely. And the fat content on that, you're like, on a normal UK pig, you're looking at about probably like sort of about 5 mil, 10 mil. Yeah. And on that, just the thickness of that. Crazy. I was thinking about doing is taking the jowls off separately just because of how this head is made up and how fat it is. One of my first jobs as a butcher was boning out pigs' heads, so let's see if I can remember how to do it.
So this is obviously, we could get an amazing guanciale here with so much fat, make an incredible cured guanciale. But I mean, I've actually just cooked these before, just like presse.
Yeah, same, yeah.
Got a big layer of fat, but then lots of fat in the meat. So I think we'll cook this almost like a proper pork chop. Blanch the skin, just roast it really hard, get it really nice and glassy. So the other thing is as well, like, we had some trouble getting the whole pig, so the head is very rarely left on, right?
No.
And almost all of this Spanish pig is pretty much impossible to buy.
Yeah, they like literally it is, and I've literally been to this farmer's slaughterhouse, and it's minutes after slaughter, so they go through the whole process, slaughter, evisceration and everything like that, and then the butchers are straight away boning it out and breaking down the muscles, because once it gets like this, once it's allowed to hang and the muscles harden and the fat hardens, it's hard work. It's a lot of hard work.
We've got to work that out for us today. Well, you have. Yes. So do you think it's fair to call it the Wagyu of the pig world?
Yes, absolutely. When you get like a loin chop from an Iberico, and just the marbling of the fat, and it's the whole process of farming. So it's like during the acorn season, it's only being fed on wild acorns. This particular farmer sets everything out, so the pigs actually have to travel for that. And then it's the process just throughout the year. During the acorn season, most of these cuts will go just for curing. Yeah. They'll go for your Lomo, they'll go for your Iberico. They do a 6 month, a 3 year, if memory serves me right, another 5 years as well. So aged for 5 years, which is just some of the best I've ever had.
Insane.
Right, so there you have your jowl. If I want to just trim it up a little bit.
Look at the layer of fat on there as well. Yeah, gosh. That is absolutely mental. All right, cool. You're gonna get cracking on. Is there anything else on the head that we can get?
On your head, you've got your ears. Many places in this country not commonly used. Personally, I'm a big fan of pig's ears.
They're big boys as well.
Yes, they are.
Beautiful. They'll be absolutely delicious there. Not just for the dog. We actually pressure cook them in some pork stock, so they're really nice and soft, and they've just been chilled down. So whilst they're frying, just keep mixing them in the fryer, because all the collagen starts to stick together. Okay, so our crispy ears come out. We're going to season these with some salt and pepper seasoning. So I've got salt and pepper pig's ears.
What do you think?
Does taste like any other pig's ear.
I mean, ear's an ear, right? I doubt that Iberico pig is doing anything different with his ear. Maybe just listening to the Spanish music in the hillside.
First, we're going to cure the jowl. We're going to use black pepper, coriander, 60% salt, 40% sugar.
Okay, so what we want to do is cook this really nice and hot, because it's already steamed. See, we've still got a really nice layer of fat in here, so we're going to cook it inside the wood oven. That's crispy. We're going to take it out, let it rest. That skin will crisp up really nicely, and we'll get that beautiful meat below.
It looks naughty.
Oh my God. It's so fatty. The meat's obviously quite tender, but it's so rich, it's so fatty.
Yeah, in moderation, you'd have to have it in moderation.
So rich.
I don't think you could have that as a main element of a dish.
If you look at that, it's like, it is so hard to tell where the fat begins and where the meat comes. But it's at least 70% fat.
Looks like a lobe of foie gras.
Yeah.
Cheek skewer. Just again, really simple, just letting the meat speak for itself. I mean, I'm expecting it to be...
Cheeky.
Don't ever do that sound again.
Considering we've done nothing to it, I mean, it's got a good amount of flavour.
Yeah, loads of flavour. Obviously, all that sort of like cartilage and fat around it. Obviously, when you oil it and season it, it really carries that smoke and caramelization really well. Oh, try that bit. Different. I mean, it makes sense, right? There's probably multiple muscles within the cheek.
Well, as we know about Iberico pigs, they do a lot of free-range grazing on those acorns, so it makes sense that this is slightly tougher because it's doing a lot of work over the course of its life. Right, so what's the next cut we're going to go for?
Next thing we're going to look at is taking the shoulder off. Now, normally in this country, when we get pigs, we split them into two sides, which is much easier for butchery.
So breed-wise, this is a pata negra, right? And that is basically, like Wagyu, that is why it's, obviously the diet helps, but mainly the breed.
Helps. The breed is a particular breed that, like Wagyu, just helps hold the fat, has a certain flavour. I would say a slight difference to Wagyu in the sense that I think Iberico pork holds a stronger, more characteristic flavour than maybe Wagyu does, where Wagyu is more of holding the fat. Comparing it to our standards, what our standard free-range pork is currently, which would be a white Duroc cross, which we sell for the UK pork. This one it's something very specialised.
So normally our pigs are going to be what, like 6-7 months?
6 to 7 months in age before it's slaughter, and then these ones, like we said, it's very much dependent on the size of the pig and how long the pig takes to get to the correct weight. But you're looking probably 2 to 3 years.
Oh wow! So that's going to impact the flavour massively and all that fat as well.
So we also do some what we call over 30 months, so that's older form of dairy cows. Yeah. That's from the UK. We also do glisten beef as well. And when you have that older cow, the same with pork, the flavour it's a different, much different, like more intense.
So I suppose that's why for charcuterie, if they're going to salt it, intensify it down, it's just going to be even more intense.
Yes, definitely.
So this is, I mean, how many times, like you said that basically during acorn season you don't get the legs?
The majority of the body, that anything that goes to the curing process, so the legs will go for the hamon, the loin will be stripped out and go for the loma blanco, and the shoulder for the cabecero will go for a cured joint for that as well. And so during that season you won't get those cuts because they generally will go into the curing process.
I suppose unlike any other animal, the leg is probably one of the most valuable parts then.
Definitely. Unfortunately these days the leg in this country,
it's looking like good marbling.
For UK pork in this country, legs will go to gammon. They'll go for some roasting joints, but the majority of them do end up in sausage meat.
Yeah, so this is complete reverse to the UK. I'll tell you what, that's looking pretty good. Nice. That is insane. Just look at the layer of fat here. And you can see as well, like all that marbling through there, that just wouldn't happen with a British pig.
Right, I don't know how much you want to do this. So there's a couple of ways of doing it. There's me sawing through the whole shoulder and splitting in half, which is going to take a while and be long. Or there's me trying to bone it out.
Doesn't sound like you want to do it like that.
It's hard work, isn't it? Yeah.
Come on, we're doing anything.
It's a brand new saw blade.
Nothing, yeah.
There we go. Nice.
Once you have your split shoulder, so the cuts we're going to look at is your blades on the top there, which commonly is like a pulled pork, roast, that sort of thing. Then
you have good smoking joint.
Yes, absolutely. Then you have your neck underneath, and then you have this side, which when I started butchery we used to call the hand of pork or picnic joint. You can do a roast out of it. These days pretty much universally goes into sausages. So first thing I need to do is just saw through these bones, and what I'm looking for, so if you imagine a straight line there, You're looking for a matching straight line there. That's going to go over the joint. So a good indicator of your joint is where you have a build-up of fat and tendons going towards a certain place. You generally know you've got a joint underneath.
Okay.
Almost kind of an imaginary line at the end of those bones there. I don't want to saw through the meat, I just want to go for the bone.
Okay.
Because once you're sawing through the meat, you're slashing the meat, and when you start cooking it, that burns.
So obviously already we've only been working on this for like 20 minutes, but the fat has started to melt quite a lot. Is that what makes like Iberico fat so good, the melt point?
The nature of the breed, plus the feed, on the heavy feed on the acorns, the melt point generally is at body temperature. So like when you're working with it,
You gotta be quick.
yeah.
So like Wagyu, right? You can get in a right mess butchering a Wagyu.
Yeah.
So it's important to mention this is obviously a very English way to butcher a Spanish pig. There'll be a lot of Spaniards, Spanish butchers rolling their eyes now.
European butchery in general is heavily on seam butchery. This style, which is kind of matched in America as well, is very much to certain joints. So like we have a quite different style here compared to most European butchery. Most European butchery is seam butchery, which is, I know a little bit of it, but I'm not as familiar with it. So the joint is under there, like I was completely off. So just shows my lovely butchery skills. But what I'm going to do now, I want to split the blade. So I'm coming through this muscle here and there, but I'm not going to cut straight down. So if I do that, I'm going into the eye.
Yes.
The knife is going to be angled up slightly. This pork is quite hard, so it's not the easiest thing. Generally, it's a lot easier than this. So it'd be equivalent to, if you're looking at beef, ribeye, and then your chuck.
Yeah. So that'd be a chuck eye steak. You could get out 1 or 2 out of there.
There's your blade. You get a small amount of back fat from the shoulder. There. And then there would be your neck on the bone.
Okay, so we're gonna get out of this, which is the main shoulder, we're gonna get banging brisket joint, we're gonna get a smoked ham hock, we're gonna get some ribs as well, on the bone, sort of, what would you call that?
We call a spare rib chop.
Spare rib chop, and then we're gonna get a beautiful collar which we can marinate and grill. Nice.
What I'll do first, I'll put this to one side, I'll cut you a couple of spare rib chops just so you can see how that is. I mean, particularly when you get pigs in the spring and the summer, these chops on a barbecue is fantastic. So good. When I started, we always called it a UK spare rib chop, and the belly would be what we'd call a spare rib.
I mean, there's no way that's not gonna be absolutely next level.
This is our spare rib chop. So it's much thinner, you've got loads of fat in there, so we want a high heat, big crust. Not necessarily too worried about keeping a nice medium rare, because there's so much connective tissue in there, but we want maximum caramelization. So I reckon another minute or 2. It's obviously very thin, so it's quite hard to get the color on it. That looks nice. I'm gonna chuck that one into rest now. Light up the stars if you stay by my side.
Turn off that music.
Well, this one. Hey, you can't stop this, baby. Because I would never really even refer to it as a spare rib chop. I would call it more as like, probably like a chuck steak.
Yeah, chuck steak, yeah.
Chuck on the bone.
Yeah.
But it's basically where that ribeye comes. It's then the extension into the shoulder.
Oh.
I would even say, as an eating experience, does it even become better than those super fatty cuts?
There is a reason it's obviously very well favoured. This is the presser.
In Spain, they butcher their meat differently. I've never really thought about why they do it differently. Well, in regards to pigs, that is. So I think they butcher these special cuts specifically for the Iberico pig, because it's so fatty in the traditional sort of areas that we would butcher our pigs into.
So in Spain, this presser is actually, in a way, probably more desirable than the loin chop. Oh, Iberico shoulder. So this is the one that we slowly cooked with a load of nice spices. So cooked on the bone. Been cooking for hours. So it should be really nice and tender. Oh, yes.
The fat is so thick that it almost doesn't break down like normal fat that I'm used to on English pig.
Yeah.
It's almost like it becomes jelly-like, and adds another texture to the braise. It's so nice. You've got the meat, and then you've got the moisture from the fat, but then you've got this like gelatinous like fat as well, which almost mixes through it. It gives like a very soft, bouncy, jelly-like feel. It's so nice.
It's delicious. It's very rich. The meat itself is perfectly protected because of the amount of fat on there. So
Look at that there, like.
really impressive, like beautiful. Okay, so this is a collar. We marinated this with pineapple juice, some chilies, lots of spices. It's got a really nice marinade on it. We're actually going to roast this in the oven, so all that marinade can stick onto it. Let's just carve a little bit off the end.
Oh, that is nice marbling. Wouldn't be able to tell it was Iberico, but it is very, very, very delicious.
Yeah, it's got a good depth of flavour. It's quite soft, again, for a 2-year-old animal. The collar, that is quite soft.
The meat, I would say, has got a bit more attitude than that of a normal standard British pig collar. I think the slow cooking of those Iberico cuts is good because it almost renders out that fat, but keeps it moist at the same time.
I agree.
Now, next I'll look at the hand. Now, what I'm going to do with this is probably considered quite old-fashioned now. So we're going to break into 2 joints, like you said. So we're going to have the brisket, what would be the equivalent of a brisket joint or top rib, and we'll have the knuckle joint here. First thing I want to do, I want to take off those soft bones.
Yeah.
I was about to say you can do that just with the boning knife, but that's generally on younger pigs. It's a little bit more tougher.
2 years. I mean, 2 to 3 years. I suppose they don't even. Do they even pay attention to the year, or do they pay attention to the weight?
They pay attention to the weight.
Yeah.
It's based on weight.
So it could even be older.
Yeah. It's such a. I've visited the farm, and it's such a fantastic farm because not only are they still producing it in the traditional way, he's reinvesting in. So obviously Spain, like a lot of farmers, they're having difficulty where young people are leaving the industry, labour and stuff like that. So he actively reinvests into people from younger farmers who are in that area to keep them in the area and keep them producing. They almost produce a lot of their stock as a co-op and work together in that sense. So a lot of this is the from what we call the stick-in, so where the animal gets slaughtered, it's the main arteries going down to the body. So I'm going to trim some of those off. Just want to go under those bones a little bit and just trim that artery out.
Do they tend to kill them in the same way?
Kill them same way, same cut.
Bolt through the
bolt and then throat cut. But it's just the process of as soon as it's come out of the slaughter process with evisceration and everything like that, they're straight in the butchery. Whereas here we will hang for 2 to 3 days to allow the muscles to stiffen up.
So does it not affect the tenderness then if it's not?
It works for them. So typically, from what I've always understood here, so part of the reason why we cool the animal slowly is to prevent muscle cooling shortenage, where the muscle tenses up and is cooled too quickly. But how they do it, and they don't cool the animal when they butcher it, they keep it warm and then cool it slowly after butchery, and it doesn't seem to affect.
So do they vac it and wet age it, or is it just because it's so fatty? That
it's just because it's so fatty they can't eat it, and depends what they're doing with the muscle. So if it's going for cure, as far as I'm aware, they get it straight into that curing process.
Yeah.
If it's going for meat, so like they'll generally with the loin, if they're using it for fresh meat, they'll leave the loin on the bone, and then that goes into the same slow cooling process as what we do here, but it's just obviously they're broken down first. This is the cut. When I first started butchering, was one of the first things I got taught to do, which was just a little joint on your ribs.
Right, I like the idea of keeping the bone in there to hold it all together.
I know, I can remember being 20 years old and little old ladies coming in for this joint, to be honest with you.
So what do you call it again? The
top rib.
Top rib, okay.
Or the whole thing we'd call a hand of pork.
Yeah, okay, cool. Nice.
Or picnic ham as well.
Picnic ham.
Yeah.
I mean, for us, that just looks like a banging smoking joint, doesn't it?
Yeah. And what we used to commonly do, if someone didn't want to take the whole piece, we'd split it between the joint of the knuckle, which is on that side. So that would become one joint, and that would become the rib joint.
So hand of pork or top rib, this is going to be absolutely banging smoked. Have to get some wood and do this really, really properly, I think, with a proper nice marinade and spice rub.
And I reckon with this, we're going to do a crispy pork knuckle. First, what we're going to do is we're going to brine the pork knuckle in a 10% salt brine. We're then going to steam it for around about 3 hours, 65 degrees, before deep frying for the perfect crisp.
There we go. Beautifully golden, crispy pork knuckle. I love a crispy pork knuckle. Ooh, look at that fat coming off there.
Look at the state of it. This is like flavour, isn't it?
It's not got like the depth of like a proper roast pork knuckle. It's softer, more delicate. It reminds me of that braised meat. It's very delicate. It's almost like the meat is protected by all that fat.
Yeah, it definitely feels premium.
For the hand of pork, I decided to take this home and use the smoker to make some beautiful pulled pork sliders. So good. Outrageously fatty.
Okay, so how are you going to tackle this next?
Okay, so first thing I want to do, I want to take the middle off. So it's kind of, when it says a whole pig, you're kind of aiming for between the leg and loin. So just here, you're hitting the top of, I guess, pelvis or hip.
Yeah.
So the idea is, as the muscle sinks in there, that is the point where you want to cut to. If I get this right, I should be just touching the top of the soft bone. Not too soft, but soft. As it's an older animal, even the soft bones tend to be a little bit harder on this. And as I'm working, I'm always moving between my saw and my knife to try and avoid slashes on the meat.
That is an unbelievable layer of fat there.
And so on your leg, you've got your, what we call the chump, or the equivalent of a beef rump. And then your leg muscles, top side, silver side,
Yeah.
and skirt from there. And then you've got your bottom of your loin. And you can see just the top of the bone there.
Yes.
And then that will go through to your T-bones, and then your middle loin, and then your rib end. The next job is to try and saw this in half.
All right, mate. So obviously we've just split this in half, and now we've got the middle quarter. What would you call this?
We would call it a middle pork. Generally, even when it's split, we call it a middle pork. What I want to do next, I want to split the belly from the loin.
Yeah.
And then we'll try and do some loin chops, some nice rib end loin
Beautiful.
chops for you. So with the belly, traditionally over here, we always have a good marker. And normally it would be around sort of this point where you have a diamond of fat. The issue with Iberico is because the fat content is separated slightly differently, and because it has much higher fat, it's harder to tell. So I'm looking to probably go, normally it'd be that diamond of fat, but I don't want to go too close, so I'm probably going to go there to split the loin. So I'm too short to see over the top. Right, with the line I'm going to cut for that, I'm going to cut. Now it looks like on the top of it, it looks like I'm cutting a slightly odd line where I'm cutting the belly short, but what the idea of that is, when the loin of pork stands up, it should give me a roughly, not quite straight there, but should give me a roughly nice straight line on my loin of pork. If I've done my job right, when you stand it up, you should have a nice straight line. And I'll be honest with you, that goes back to shop butchery where you want nice straight lines when it's sitting.
That's pretty damn straight.
Yeah. Still got a little bit of talent there, you know. I might still know what I'm doing.
So they'll use that in all of their charcuterie. It's like actual gold dust, this fat layer. And you can tell, I mean, you wouldn't get that unless it was older than 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And also with the diet and the breed, like even you can tell just a touch of by your hands how the fat is already rendering down.
You also mentioned earlier that so per pig they allocate a certain amount of trees.
Yes, yeah, and it's allocating the trees and spacing the pig out. So it's the idea of free range. I don't know if it directly translates, but the pigs have to move a certain distance to feed. Yep. They have to have a certain amount of feed, and they're moving the pigs around, and it's really nice because you go down to the farm and the pigs aren't scared of you. They're moving around, they're quite natural. They're curious about you, the way that any pig that doesn't have that, I don't know if you want to talk about like that direct kind of factory farm feel to it. Like these pigs are just kind of almost like a wild animal, but they're curious and they understand that they're safe. Just give it a straight cut, and that will separate your T-bone from your rib end. I can just see some of the marbling there now.
Money shot. Look at that. That is insane. Look at the layer of fat there. Okay, so this is the pork T-bone steak, and then I'm just gonna take this down until I hit a bone, and then just using a saw, just go through the bottom bone.
This is probably the most premium cut we're going to cook today. I think it's going to be quite hard to cook because there's going to be so much flame coming off this meat. So the trick, the hardest thing with the T-bone is obviously you've got this little nugget of fillet of beef here, which you want to have ideally as rare as possible. You've then got all that fat that you need caramelized and melted, and then you've got the beautiful loin in the middle. So it's a very hard steak to cook. Yeah, so we're sitting sort of like low 40s right now, which is about right, because you probably want this to rest up to about 52 to 54.
Well, this is it. This is my favorite beef cut. Will it be my favorite Iberico pork cut as well?
It doesn't look as sort of glamorous as that beef look cut, does it?
It's a small fillet, isn't it?
Yeah, it's all quite disproportionate.
That's a solid 50% fat to 50% meat ratio there, I would say. I mean, look how much of that is fat, and I actually took some off as well. So this is the soft fat. So this is the hard fat. There's some soft fat attached that I took off. So
all that fat dripping down onto the flame created this major char, which looks like a lot. But when you get just that fraction of char with that much meat, it really gives you that incredible charry flavour. This has got to be up there. It's got to be, if not the best, definitely top 3.
With English breeds of pigs, this tends to be harder to do, and I'm not the best at it anyway. Once you go here, if you look, as I'm pushing the weight down between the fat and the loin, I let that do a little bit of the work for me. So it's not the cleanest lardo for you there, but I'll try my best. So obviously taking the fat off the back, and that leaves you with your loin, and then you just want to look at a really lovely loin cutlet.
oh god, this is so good. This is the one. Look at that. I'd say the best pork cut in the world. There's no, honestly, like the way that we always did it was just in the josper over charcoal. Just give it a good rest and serve it medium. So like,
I mean, I'm a bit more adventurous to the medium rare.
Really?
Yeah, personally, I've had Preza, which is one of the shoulder cuts. It had that in Salamanca as what they called sashimi, Preza sashimi, where they'd grill the outside but pretty much left it raw in the middle.
I used to do that after service
You,
sometimes.
you need to have a certain amount of confidence in your meat with that one.
I'm pretty confident. Maybe we'll try that with this one then. Okay. So this bad boy, we're gonna just very simply cook this medium rare, and we'll come for Rowan if he makes us sick.
What is most likely going to be our favourite piece of the day. Not that I've got any favourites, but that is the classic, the pork chop. But you can look at that marbling on the Iberico chop. Amazing marbling on the fat. You've got intermuscular marbling here. You've got that famous eye of the rib as well there. I'm just going to grill that on a high heat. I want to keep this one nice and pink. Used to cook like 50, 60 a day of these when we worked with Heston. The Iberico, we had Iberico pork chop. Used to cut it like almost like 2.5, 3 inches thick. And it always used to be so good, so good. Because it's got so much fat in there, it almost looks denser, doesn't it?
Look at the layers of fat in there.
Man down. Can I say one thing? It's so good, but as I get older,
You miss the porkiness.
I'm almost like it's too much fat.
It's not like it's not like a pork chop. It doesn't have a porky
It's
flavour.
a specialist product.
Yeah, it's like Wagyu.
It's exactly the same. I feel like so many comparisons to when we did the beef breed video here.
Yeah.
But like, it is incredible, and you can't say anything else other than it's incredible. But is it too much? It's amazing, but it's a lot.
So we're on the belly now. What do you think you're going to do with this one?
I'm going to take the ribs off, but I'm going to take the ribs off against the bone, so there's like a spare rib style.
Nice.
So you just have that intercostal muscle between them. And then looking at the belly, it's quite fat, so it depends on how you want to do it. If you want to do it as a chunk, if you want to leave that skin on, you have to render that fat down, or I can trim that fat down for you. And then you have a boneless
I think leave
skinless.
the skin on, leave the fat on, and we'll just do a really sort of delicious Hong Kong style belly.
So looking at the ribs, you have the ribs go down in kind of this shape here, and next to them you have a soft cartilage. So what I want to do is, just with this, what we call the inside skirt, I'm just going to come underneath on top of the ribs first, of the soft bones just coming as they fold up into themselves. And then just with my knife, I'm going to come underneath the bones with the blade angled up into the bones.
Yeah.
And I'm going all the way along as I cut. So the intercostal muscle between the ribs, in Spanish they call lagrima, which they will just take out. They'll take out of the bone and they'll just grill it as itself as well. So there's your what we would call a spare rib.
Yeah.
So it's just the bone with the intercostal or lagrima inside. Traditionally in shop butchery in this country, we'd like to do like a nice square, and this part would go into sausages, or do you want to keep the whole pieces and cut in slices?
I think for Sundays, normally what we'll do, we would square it off.
Yep.
And then we'll use the trim to make some sausages.
And that piece will go into sausages. And then where at the bottom of the belly it gets very fat, so around here, I mean, fatter than it already is. Around the bottom of the ribs is generally where we'd square it off. And then that would also go in sausage, and that leaves you with a beautiful cut of belly. Would you do it as a whole piece, or would you do it as slices?
We'll do it as a whole piece. That'll be amazing. All right, so this belly, we are gonna cure it with a little bit of salt and sugar. We'll blanch it, prick it all over to try and render out some of that fat and skin. And then we'll cook it up and try our sort of traditional Hong Kong style pork belly, crispy pork belly, and see how it roasts up. Should be delicious. So this is the lagrima, which is the sort of intercostal meat between the ribs. Yeah. And with this, you recommend what, like a nice hard sear?
Hard sear, nice grill, and it will be...
The fat is insane, if you can see that.
Fat is really sweet as it renders as well.
Cook it really high over the charcoal, beautiful. And this is the squared off bottom half from the belly and from the side of the belly. And to be honest, we're going to get a little bit of trim from this, but we're going to make the most incredible sort of spiced sausages with all of this meat.
What I like to call like the little chef's favourites. So we've got some Iberico bangers. Sounds perfect, right? So we made these quite traditional. So we just got the Iberico meat, loads of Iberico fat, lots of trimmings, sage and mustard and cider. So just a very classic sort of recipe. Just going to very lightly oil those up. The meat is already seasoned, so we don't necessarily need to season these. We're just going to roast those in the oven to cook them. So the amount of fat coming out of the sausage, look at that. So I've had to change the cooking tactic. I'm now just going to go on the plancher instead because the amount of fat coming out of them was way too much. Lesson from this one is maybe Iberico shouldn't go into a sausage. I think the fat content has outdone us in these sausages. I'm expecting it to be full of flavour, but I think there's so much fat, and we haven't anticipated for that in our recipe.
So you wouldn't have it on your full English then?
No. I think it's a resounding no on that one.
It's no Richmond.
Also got the intercostal meat here from the ribs. This is our intercostal skewer. So we're just going to char those off really nicely on a hot grill.
So this is one of the cuts that they were really excited about us tasting.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, it looks nice. It looks like a short rib.
Oh wow. Oh god.
It's like it's got a skin on it, which isn't unpleasant by any means, but you can see how if you took that skin off, it could be like next level.
100%. For being simply cooked though, just from raw, being sliced very thinly, that is next.
That reminds me of the goose skirt from the cow.
Yes, agree. This is our Iberico pork belly. It's been cured and we've washed off the salt, and we're just going to put some more salt on top and roast it in the oven. So our pork belly's had the first amount of time in the oven with the salt on, just taking the salt off. We're now going to whack it back in at 250 for 10 to 15 minutes until the skin's super crisp.
What in God's green earth is this?
And this is what I'm most excited for, Chef. Will it be too fatty?
The reason it's ironic because it's the one I'm least excited for.
Really?
I'm just not a belly fan.
Oh, come on, you've got to say.
It's well cooked, I'll give you that.
Come on.
I'm just not a belly man.
Time to convert, Jack.
It's giving me a heart attack just looking at it. But we'll do this just for you. Whoa, nice. Flavour. That is full of flavour, I must say.
For a lot of customers in the restaurant, that is too fatty. I mean, we like it because we're chefs, but like, just look at that. It's crazy.
The thing is, I think with all these Iberico cuts, the one thing that's clear is that you can't just utilise it in the same way we'd use traditional British pork. No. It would have to be carefully curated and treated to be a slightly different dish.
Probably why they butcher it all so differently. All right, so this is the leg section of the Iberico, the last little bit, and we're going to separate this into 3 different parts. So rump steaks out of this one?
Yep, first thing I need to do is take the bone out. Rump is one of the harder bones to bone out because it's your hip joint and it goes into the pelvis, so you're moving around a lot of cuts there, and there's multiple muscles in the rump as well. So if I'm going to start, I'm going to take the fillet off the top. Now, I'll put the bone to one side to trim up later, because there's always little bits of trimming to get up that. And then what you have with your rump, so what we generally do, we would take the rind off. You've got your rump cap there. You have your main muscle or D rump in the middle, and then you have what we call a tri-tip at the end. On the top we'd have the fillet. Normally with a rump steak we'd take that off.
Yes.
So very trim.
It's quite interesting how dark the meat is, like towards the centre of the bone. I suppose that's because of the age of the animal.
The age of the animal, it's also the
Doing a lot of work.
feed. Yeah, the feed, and it also is really dependent on where that muscle is, how much it moves, and like I said with rump, you have got multiple muscles which work differently here. So obviously you've got the cap there. Even in the D rump, you have the top part here where you can see the line, and now there's a little muscle there. In beef, we'd take that off and call the cat's tongue. Yeah, which is a lovely little steak you get, which ideally butchers never want you to ask for. And then you have the tri-tip here, which is from the cut that leads up into the flanks. Cut that for you.
That'll be so good. I think we're just going to really simply, grill this, see the difference in all those different muscle textures.
Slightly more denser in texture, a little bit more bite to it, but full of flavour. I'm expecting this to be delicious. It's a beautiful size for cooking as well, because you've got a really nice amount of fat, beautiful marbling. So giving that rump a nice colour on one side. Just going to flip it, keep the pressure on it. All right, I'm going to rest that. So we're going to chuck this up to rest now. I think it feels well compact, it feels well marbled, coloured up nicely. I think it's going to be a really, really interesting steak.
From what the butcher was saying, this is something that is quite unusual to get in this format. Like, pretty much throughout most of the acorn season, they'll use this to cure. So it's probably quite rare to get it as a steak like this.
The live one, very, very good. I like how it's got a lovely fat cap.
So it's way better than the equivalent of a rump on a cow is often quite tough. That's not tough at all.
No, it's so tender.
So this is a minimum 2 years. If you consider how much work and how much waddling around that field this free-range pig's done, it's miraculously tender.
It's very good, very good.
We're going to do a cut that's not very common with pork, and really not common in this country, and that's the Cowboy steak. So,
okay.
Yeah. So first thing I want.
So more common in the Americas.
Very much more common in America. Generally, the
Spaniards are going to be
crying.
grossly.
So first thing I want to do, I'm going to take off the tail, and then for these steaks, just to give it a little bit of a trim, some of the excess fat. The first piece off, just to get past the knuckle. So with the steak, what ideally you want to be able to access the marrow on the bone as well.
Look at that bad boy.
There's ham-on lovers crying at the moment.
So obviously the best way to use this is for ham-on, but actually I don't think anyone would ever really had a Cowboy steak before, because this is the most expensive part of the animal that's basically just been cut into a cross section, and we're going to grill it whole.
I reckon with this cut, we're going to smoke it with a banging spice rub. Leg of pork, we're going to smoke this low and slow for around about 10 hours. With this, we're going to make pork carnitas with a salsa verde.
Smoky, delightful, fresh, zinging, fat just makes it absolutely mesmerizing.
Probably don't want it too rare. Yeah, I think nice. We'll take it to 56. A nice medium. You can see that because you've got the bone in there as well. It's always really nice. That's going to add a nice little bit of flavour. Got beautiful marrow in there. You can see how the fat's beautifully caramelising. We could upset a lot of Spaniards with this cut, because obviously traditionally, with all the legs of the ham, they're turning that into ham on Iberico, which is a very premium Spanish product, and we're just now grilling it simply. So, not sure what the consensus will be from the purists of the Iberico pig. Howdy, partner!
Ah, the Cowboy steak. I'm sceptical about this one, I have to say.
They teach you this in culinary school.
So probably because of the amount of work that it's doing, that muscle has a lot more myoglobin in it, so it's a lot darker.
I'm going to kind of taking the bone out, I'm just going to like put it back together and just carve it like that, I think. Definitely feels tough under the knife.
Oh yeah?
Look at the difference in colour there.
If you're eating the entire Iberico pig, you turn that into cured meat that's exceptional, and you don't serve that like a steak. And also they would have used this to store this for the winter. They probably would have eaten their chops and their primals, and then this would have been what they would be saving for later on.
Feels, ironically so, a bit of a Cowboy way to prep it.
Yeah, actually, this has been incredibly interesting. I'm literally covered in
Iberico.
Not as bad as you, but that was so interesting. And thanks very much for sourcing it. It's
Anytime.
pretty much probably the first one that's left Spain whole in this way for a long time. So it's such a unique product. So thank you so much to the team at HG Wallet for sorting it out for us. There's big sweat, big greasy handshake there.